There's always going to be room for good writers, and the publishers never stop looking for good people. When your book is the best it can be, don't send it to only one person. Send it to a lot of agents, but don't wait until you get a reply.
Hello and welcome to The Thriller Zone. I'm your host, David Temple, and on episode 99, we are this close to 100. On episode 99, I invite my new friend, Simon Gervais, to talk about his latest thriller, The Blackbriar Genesis. If you're a Robert Ludlum fan, like myself, you are going to love today's conversation. I'm going to save all that time and put the juice in the show. Simon, you ready? He's in the green room. Let's get to it. Simon Gervais on The Thriller Zone. Do not be alarmed when you see this happen. Because I like to get up close and personal to you.
I see.
Yeah.
Awesome. No problem. No, I'm excited about this, actually.
All right. Well, good. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get this party started. And guess who it is? Simon Gervais on The Thriller Zone. Hello, Simon.
Hi, Dave. Thank you for having me, my friend.
I have not, let's see, last time I saw you, it was Thriller Fest. We're going to, by the way, quick note, we're going to be talking about this gorgeous book, The Blackbriar Genesis. Oh, I'm just going to say strap in, but we'll get to that in a minute. But the last time I saw you was at Thriller Fest. And two things I want to say. Number one is, and this is the best compliment I can pay you probably, besides when we start talking about your book. You're one of those guys that you meet, and it was the first time we met face to face, and you were so kind and so considerate and so patient and so chill and so down to earth. I walked away going, I think I was talking with Chris Hottie, and I'm like, that guy is just flat out cool. He's just, not pretentious or anything. So I just want to say it was a pleasure to meet you. So there.
Well, right back at you, but Chris might be biased. He's a good friend of mine, so that's probably why he said that to you. But honestly, I'm just trying to pay it forward, especially at the ITW, because when I started in this gig in like 2015, everybody was very, very nice to me. And I know how it is sometimes for people that are maybe at their first time. And I'm not talking about you, but about a lot of other guests. So you always try to be nice with people that want to get into this business, because you know what comes around goes around. So people were nice to me. They were always very generous of their time, and I'm trying to do the same thing for them.
Well, and then that's one of the nice things about the ITW and Thriller Fest and just this whole community, this thriller community at large, is that everyone feels a similar way, Simon, and I find it so refreshing. I came from a world of radio, which is highly competitive, and then television, highly competitive, and then acting in films, highly competitive. And it's not always friendly, but you get into this world and everyone's like, yeah, let's all do this together, and I'll help you and you help me, and it's all good. It's just an amazing place to be.
Right. And I'm not exactly sure why it is like this. I guess you just go with the flow. People are nice to you, you're nice to the other people as well. But it's a competitive environment as well. Thriller writing is a difficult business to get into, and it's difficult to stay at the top as well. But for some reason, I think a lot of us connect. I'd say maybe one of the reasons we have similar backgrounds. I have a lot of friends that are former law enforcement officers. If you think about, let's say, Don Bentley or Mark Cameron,
Right.
Joshua Hood, we all used to do very similar things in our previous line of work. So I think people like us kind of to like the brotherhood that comes around being part of a unit or the military or law enforcement, and we try to find the same thing with thriller writing.
Yeah, and it's so true. And all those names that you mentioned, I've been able to strike up some friendships either through the show or when we meet at a conference like Thriller Fest. And it's just really cool to be able to hang out with them, have dinner, grab a drink. And so with that in mind, what have you been up to? Now, I'm going to give you a little inside scoop, Simon. I'm a little bit of an Instagram stalker, so I don't want you to be scared. But I do spend a little bit of time on the Insta. So I do have a little idea, but for my listeners who don't stalk, I mean visit, I mean watch like I do. Tell us what you've been up to.
Don't feel bad about it. We all look at stuff. Listen, I've been writing a lot, as I said right now. That's why I didn't shave for a few weeks, because I'm on a deadline for my next Clayton White book, which is due to my editor on October 15th. So I've barricaded myself at the cottage. So I've been doing that for a few weeks now. But I've been traveling a lot. It's been a very, very busy summer for us. I like to travel to the places I talk about in my books. So my wife and I and the kids have been to Monaco this summer. We've been to the U.S. Virgin Islands, which will play a major part in The Last Guardian, my next Clayton White book. We've learned how to scuba dive. We are all open water certified now. We did that this summer. And we went to the Bahamas as well. And I think we're heading back out again in a couple of weeks to Saint Vincent and Grenadines for the first time in our lives. So we're going to discover that with our kids. Wow. So I've been traveling quite a lot, writing a lot. I've had a great summer. I went to Minneapolis to the BoucherCon.
Yeah.
Where I've had the chance to meet again with friends, spend some quality time with my editors. So it was a lot of fun. I'm keeping myself as busy as I can.
Yeah, I speaking of Instagram and BoucherCon, I saw. Let's see, there was a trifecta. I had all you cats together. It was like Granny, Bentley, and Kyle. Yeah, you guys were all hanging out. Matter of fact, Chris Hottie and I were talking on the phone. I'm like, looks like those, because neither one of us made it to the Beacon, and I said those cats are looking like they're having some fun, and we both love the cocktails at the bar. So. The sad news is we didn't make it this year. The good news is next year it's right here in my backyard. So I hope you're coming, and first round's on me.
Oh, accepted. Yeah, we'll definitely be in San Diego, and I think it's a nice place. My wife will probably fly down as well. We like California, and actually I was there with your friend Chris.
Yeah.
A few months ago. We had a free drinks and we went out for dinner. It was fantastic. I really like this area.
Yeah, it's a little slice of heaven. Now, San Diego proper is about a half hour from us. We're at Encinitas, a little bit north, but we're about 1 mile from the beach. And I'm telling you, someone asked me the other day, said, "Don't you miss New York City?" And I'm like, let's see, crowds, expense, noise, pollution. No, we live in heaven 1 mile from the beach, so we're good.
Blue skies all the time. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is one of the occupational hazards. So, all right, so we're now caught up. BoucherCon was fun. It looks like you had plenty of. There were great crowds there.
I think so. I went to a few of the panels. It was a lot of fun. I'm not sure they were happy or not with the crowds, and they might have been. I'm just not sure what the expectations were. Because I remember in New York last summer for Thriller Fest, I think the attendance was a little bit lower. But of course, it was the first one after the pandemic, so maybe people were a little bit icy about traveling again.
Yeah. My buddy Eric Bishop said it was a great turnout. They had a lot of fun, but everyone spends a lot of time at the bar. All right, so I want to reiterate that this show is dropping today, which is the 13th. You've got to get your The Last Guardian.
Yeah, The Last Guardian.
Is on this coming weekend. Then that comes out next summer, fall, spring.
On October 2023. So it's usually due a year before it's actually come out.
Gotcha. But this bad boy, this bodacious bad boy, is coming out in just a number of days. So we're going to get back to this, but I do want to say, if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and pre-order it now. What the heck? Beat the Christmas rush. All right. I do have this question because I love watching, again, not to beat the point, but I love watching what my mutual writing friends are doing. And you, besides traveling and writing, what do you find yourself doing, Simon, just for folks to get to know you?
Right. Well, this is my ski cottage here. So we are in Mont-Tremblant, very close to Montreal. I would say about an hour and a half from Montreal. It's an hour and a half from our home in Ottawa. And my kids, my wife and I have been into skiing for quite a while. So that's what we do usually during the weekend from November until April. We ski. My daughter is a ski instructor now. She's been racing for about 6-7 years, and now she's a coach. My son is doing the same. I think he's doing his last year of racing this year, and he's going to become a coach hopefully next year. So this is what we do usually during the weekend, and it's a fantastic place to be during the winter, but it's also great during the summer. I'm doing mountain biking with my son. My daughter has some friend here, so she can go hiking. Surprisingly, Mont Tremblant is as popular during summer as it is during winter time, with so many activities.
Wow.
And the fall season is just incredible here. When the leaves are turning, it's fantastic.
Yeah, again, another photograph I saw, it made me really miss my hometown roots, which is the Carolina and the Blue Ridge Parkways. When I saw those colors, I'm like, oh, you don't get that out here in California because it's always kind of one thing.
Exactly.
But yeah, beautiful. And by the way, just a side note, if if you're a novice skier like myself, what's the very best thing that you could, since you're nearly a professional at it, I could do to practice to get better? Training wise, because you're in fantastic shape. When I saw you in Thriller Fest, I'm like, all right, now here's a cat who is in shape, and which I think is really admirable, because when you're spending so much time, hunched over a keyboard, you gotta keep yourself fit. So what's a great little exercise we could be practicing as we come up on the winter months?
I think my daughter would be best positioned to answer these type of questions. But personally, what I do, you would do a lot of stretching and work your legs a lot. You go to the gym and work the legs a little bit, because these are the muscle that you'll find very painful after your first weekend of skiing of the season. Your back as well. There's not much need for your arms, but having core strength is important in skiing, because you need to be able to keep your balance at all time. But being able to stretch your leg and your back and get a little bit more muscle into them, it's definitely going to be something that's going to, it's going to play in your favor.
I just remembered something. I used to work with a guy at a radio show, and I would walk in the studio, and it was coming up on ski season, and he would be leaning against the wall like he's sitting in a chair, but against the wall. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He goes, I'm exercising my quads, because you get your quads in shape if you're going to go skiing. So
yeah. Good point. Yeah. Exactly what you need to do.
All right. One last Insta moment. And this is just funny, Simon, and I feel perfectly comfortable kidding with you, because you're a rock solid dude. I found one thing that cracked me up. I'm looking at this photograph of this ginormous burger with cheese and fries, and alongside it is a Coors Light.
Yeah. It was my American moment. I was in the United States. Usually I'm a microbrasserie type of guy. I like IPAs. I like things that come from small places that don't brew a lot of things. But in the US Virgin Islands, it was really hard to get other beers. There was one micro that I found the day after I took that picture, and I it was really, really good.
Yeah.
At the time, at that beach bar, they were very limited in what they had. So I had a Coors Light, and surprisingly, it wasn't bad. With the burger, it was perfect, and we just finished the first 4 dive of our open water certification. I would drink probably anything. It was really. I was looking. I'm not ashamed of having drank a Coors Light. I'm okay.
Yeah. No, it's like people who get chili cheese fries and then a Diet Coke. I'm like, why don't you just go all in? But anyway, speaking of which, when you're here in San Diego for BashCon in 23, this is the home, the capital, one of two, this in Colorado, but like the home of craft beers. And if you're into IPAs, double IPAs, and hazies, forget about it. This is the place.
Oh, thanks for the tip. I'll make sure to write them out.
All right, now I do have a shiny moment as I was preparing for your show. I spend a fair amount of time preparing for shows besides reading delicious books. And it comes from, I was scouting your Amazon account as well as your website, and saw that The Last Protector has nearly just shy of 17,000 reviews. Now, that is awesome in itself. However, we're just a few weeks away from it being 1 year ago. So how in the wide world of Thomas and Mercer did you manage that?
I'm not sure. It did really well. I can't complain. It's nice. Actually, my publisher sent me that last week, which is like a plate to celebrate, like a metallic plate that, to celebrate how how well it's doing. I think what helped me a lot is that my previous series, the Pierce On series, like the book that I did, Hunt Them Down, Train to Hunt, and Time to Hunt, did really well as well. And when The Last Protector came out, I just assumed that they all got an email saying, hey, Simon has a new book out, and the cover is fantastic. Honestly, the cover of The Last Protector is great. And compared to my previous series, I think one of the things that did really well with The Last Protector is very appealing to women as well. It's an action thriller. If you haven't read it, it's an action thriller. It follows the life of a Secret Service agent that used to be Air Force combat rescue officer. But I won't say there's romance, but he's involved with a woman that's actually the daughter of the vice president. And there's some really cool action scenes with her. I mean, she is badass too. And I think a lot of women love that. They feel empowered by it, by somebody that doesn't get shit. She pushes back.
Yeah.
So I think it was my most successful book to date. I'm not exactly sure how many copies were downloaded, but I know that when you look at Amazon reviews, about 5 to 5% leave reviews. So if you do that by times, 20, that's going to be about probably the amount of copies we've got downloaded with this one.
Is that an official stat? 5%?
Not at all. It's an estimate. I mean, some people could be a little bit higher, some a little bit lower, but I think that would be a fair assessment to say that about 5% of people leave a rating or a review.
Wow. So yeah, let's do the math. Let's be conservative and call it 3%. And 70. That's a lot of books, dude.
It is. It is a lot of books, and that's the first book. Actually, this book was just picked up by two great agents in Hollywood, or with the APA. So I know they're starting this week to shop it around to producers and studios. And what they told me they liked about it, same thing I just told you, is that there's a very strong female protagonist in that book that I didn't necessarily have in my previous series.
I like that, Simon. I dig powerful women. I mean, I just think, we need more of that. And the days of having the woman be the second fiddle, I think, are just tired and gone. So kudos to you, buddy.
Yeah. I'm writing what I know. I'm married to one of them.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's easy for me to write about them because I live with one, and she inspired me to get these type of words in these books.
Yeah. Fortunately, my best decision I ever made much later in life was choosing someone who is brilliant, beautiful, adventurous, and also a badass babe. She would appreciate my saying that. So, but yeah, good for us. Good for us, right, Simon?
we married up.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, and this could be a good clue for my writer friends, I noticed hashtag terrorism thrillers. You're in less than the top 10 of that category with The Last Protector. So that's another good key. This is something I've learned recently, that keywords and such are really, really key.
Yeah, I think even I haven't looked today, but the rankings were really well on Amazon for The Last Sentinel and The Last Protector, and I think The Last Sentinel got approximately 6,500 pre-order before it came out. It was really, really cool, and I know that The Last Guardian, that it's not even done yet. It's going to be done in a few days. Still, already is doing pretty well on Amazon on pre-orders. So I can't complain about any of that. I mean, Thomas and Mercer have been really good with me. I love working with them. They're a great group of people. They're ultra supportive of me. I'm very grateful for everything they're doing for me and for my books.
Yeah, man. Well, good for you. Well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to do a little deep dive on the Blackbriar Genesis, Simon Gervais' latest thriller. It's Robert Ludlum's story, so that's all I really got to say. So don't go anywhere. This is the Thriller Zone. We'll be right back.
And now back to the show.
And welcome back to the Thriller Zone. I'm your host, David Temple. As you can see, this handsome gentleman is Simon Gervais, the author of the Robert Ludlum book, The Blackbriar Genesis. And by the way, thank you for coming and welcome, Simon.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's always a blast to talk about books.
And here's a really cool fact I have not mentioned in the show yet. You are episode number 99.
Mm-hmm.
So next week, Andrew Child joins us for episode 100.
That's awesome. Great choice for number 100. I'm sure there's a ton of research behind every of your guests.
Well, and you know, the cool thing is you got the front row seat to the best thriller writers in the world. I get to hang out with guys like you, and we get to talk about books like this. I'm going to come up. I don't do reviews for books because it's kind of a conflict of interest, so to speak, if I dig too deep on a book. But I will give it a 2-word review. Holy crap.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I mean, Simon, seriously, let me just do this real quick. I don't give away stuff. I don't talk about it too deep, but you start out sentence 1. I'm not going to read it. And you get going, I'm like, okay, that looks good. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Oh ho. Yeah. Your palms are sweating before the end of the first chapter. And that's a great testament to the fact that I want to say Jack Carr, Don Bentley, and all those other action-packed stars had better be on notice. They got to watch out because you are pulling up the rear and kicking their ass.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I think it's important for a thriller to really, especially the first in a series where you need to establish your bases, that people are grabbed, that the story pulls them in from the first page. I think you need to do that. There are so many books coming out every year. I think it's north of 1 million. So if you want to be successful, if you want the book to be successful, you need to grab people's attention right away, especially in a generation that likes to be on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, that you can just scroll down very fast. You want people to say, oh my God, okay, that first page is pretty good. Let's keep reading. And people that are going to browse them in bookstore, that's what they're going to do. They're going to open it and you want them to be, oh, okay, I'm going to buy this book.
Yeah. And what's interesting, you clock in at just at 400 pages, which is a pretty hefty sized book for people who are keeping count. So at 400 pages, you're telling a jam-packed story. It's lots of action. And I have to ask this question because if I don't, I'll be an idiot. If I were approached by the Ludlum estate and they said, hey, which isn't going to happen today. Hey, David, we'd love for you to, pick up the torch and carry it on for us. I would have to pick myself up the floor. Can you tell me that first moment when they came to you and said, hey, we'd love for you to play ball on our field?
It was different, I think, than most people. Because the way this whole thing happened is I was writing, I can write 2 books a year. And my publisher, Thomas and Mercer, made it clear that they could only publish one of my book every year, for the type of customers that they have and everything. So I sent an email to Tom Colgan telling him, what, I know you have everybody in your stables. All my friends are writing the Tom Clancy's, Robert Ludlum, Brian is writing the Jason Bourne, Josh is writing the Treadstone.
Yeah.
I know you're busy. If something comes up, keep me in mind. Because, I have 6 months that I could do something. And within an hour, he replied and said, oh my God, Simon, I cannot believe you just sent me this email. I got something that fell on my lap yesterday, and I'm not kidding. It fell out yesterday, and I was thinking about you to do this, but I cannot tell you more. So he said, let me work a few things out, and I'll talk to you. So I was excited about this, but I didn't know what it was at all. So of course I asked my friend, I have people around, but nobody really knew what was going on. So it took a few months before he contacted me or my agent. I don't remember which one, but he said, I can finally talk. And it's a Robert Ludlum. They love your stuff and they'd like you to continue the series. So I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. That's really, really great. And the good thing about Blackbriar is that I was able to create a brand new series within the Jason Bourne universe, but without having to follow anything that happened before. I didn't need to go back and read the 15 books, even though I'm reading all of Brian's stuff and Joshua's stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go back and understand the rest that Eric wrote before. I was able to get started and create my own little universe within the Jason Bourne universe. So it was fantastic.
That I was just going to say, that's fantastic. So Brian Freeman and Joshua Hood both writing in that world. So how cool to be able to say carte blanche, just go for it, create your own world. That's amazing.
Yeah, I can't lie about it. It's an amazing feeling. It's a blessing. It's a real honor as well to write, for the estate that was, I believe, one of the biggest literary icon in American thriller writing. It's fantastic. I've read all of Robert Ludlum's book. I love them. And I've been telling that story many times, but my mom introduced me to Robert Ludlum when I was a young teenager. We were driving to Florida in our minivan. And, Robert Ludlum kept me company for those 3 days that it took to drive from Montreal to Miami. So, for me now to be associated with that estate and seeing my name and my book on the first page of the official Robert Ludlum website is a great honor, and it's fantastic. It's a good feeling, and the thing is, I'm enjoying writing these types of stories. Yeah. And writing in the Jason Bourne world, just being able to use that name brings me a lot of joy.
Brings you a lot of joy and a lot of attention. I mean, let's think about this. So you got Ludlum, you got Webb Griffin. Who else? Tom Clancy. I mean, those are the three biggies in the universe. So that's heady to be in that company, isn't it?
It is, and I'm very fortunate to have people that have done it before I did. I'm good friend with Mark and with Don and with Mark Cameron as well, like Mike Graney and Mark Cameron. And I'm talking to them quite often, and they were really good at, telling me, don't sweat it. It's going to come. Like if they want you, it's because there's a reason that they want you to work for them. And same thing with my friend that wrote the Webb Griffin series, like Rogue Asset. Brian Andrew and Jeff Wilson, they're good friends too, and they're fantastic authors. So busy, like I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
They have 3 or 4 series going on, and I'm a big fan of their Tier 1 series. I think this is probably the best military thriller series on the market right now. So they all said it's doable. Just do what you're used to do. It's just that you're writing it under Robert Ludlum's brand.
Yeah. Speaking of Andrews Wilson, it feels like, it's not true, but it feels like half of my library, which you can't see all of it, is Andrews Wilson books, because they've got 3, 4 series going at a time. I can't even keep up with them. And we communicate regularly, and they're getting things optioned for TV and film. And I'm just like, wow, you guys are living the dream.
Yeah. Yeah, they work really hard as well. We kind of started at the same time in 2014 or 2015, and it's just been so much fun seeing their career took off like it did.
There are probably going to be listeners who may travel down the negative path and go, oh, these cats started at 2014, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's 2022. The market is saturated. I'll never make it. But I'm like, you guys who started out in 2012, 13, 14 probably had a similar idea, and you just said, put your head down and said, this is what I want to do. This is my calling. This is my passion. And you went for it. And here it is, 22. There's going to be guys coming along in 25 and 27 and 30 going, oh man, glad I got in then, right?
I mean, it's already happening. Taylor Moore is like a next up-and-coming writer. He's a fantastic writer. You have Connor O'Sullivan, who's being published by Emily Bessler. His book are exceptional. Wolf Trap, I think, is coming out next year. I mean, there's already people are getting in all the time. I mean, the last few years have been exceptional for writers. It's a war of attrition, though. I'm not going to lie about it. I remember going to groups in 2012. My first time at this, I went to a writers conference in San Francisco, and we kept touch. Like there was maybe 12 of us at the time, and we kept touch for a number of years. And I'm the only one still standing, just because it's hard to get in. And I don't think that's going to change. And I think there's a reason why it's hard to get in. It's like anything that's worth doing. It doesn't come easy. There's always a selection process. So it is what it is. But if you're, if you push yourself, and that's all you can ask of, it's hard for me to explain, but there's always going to be room for good writers, and the publishers never stop looking for good people. And I just gave you two names that are exceptionally talented, and they were able to make it in the last few years.
And this is the perfect place to insert this question right before we get into our fun and games is, what is your best piece of writing advice? And you kind of hinted on it just there, but if you're talking to a listener or who wants a viewer who wants to, make this a career choice, what would that best advice be?
Well, there's a few things that I'm going to say about this. First of all, I think a good writer needs to read a lot. You need to read in the genre that you want to write about. Second thing, when your book is the best it can be, don't send it to only one person. Send it to a lot of agents. Make sure that you, of course, research each agent, but don't wait until you get a reply. It doesn't work like that. Send it to 15 people, because it's going to take a while for them to reply. The other thing I could suggest is attend writers' conference. Go meet with people that are at the same stage that you are. Like we talk about Don Bentley, for example. Him and I started about the same time, and we became friends in 2015, and our career grew together during that time. And for people that are starting out, I would suggest to do the same thing. Encourage yourself, because it's fun. Writing is a business that everybody works at home, right? You cannot discuss business all the time. But when you go to those conferences, it's important to be able to talk about numbers, talk about the relationship that you have with your agent, with your publisher. Speak the truth a little bit with your friends that you can trust, and it's going to give you confidence in the whole process.
That's really solid advice, and I hear a similar thing from a lot of writers, and it's funny. I don't know who I was speaking to, and they said, if you're not reading, I think it was Andrew Child, maybe. If you're not reading a lot, then you really shouldn't be writing a lot, because it really does take saturating your mind with the similar genre so that you can almost subconsciously infiltrate that world. You're not copying, but you're getting insight and influence and inspiration from it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do the same with TV shows as well. I'm going to watch a lot of TV shows because it gives you idea. Like, it just, the dialogue, it helps, especially for somebody like me that's a French Canadian. Like, we speak French all the time. The only thing I'm going to speak English is when I do interviews, or I go to a writer's conference. So for me, it's good to listen to television in English and write books that are in English. It helps me out.
Yeah. Well, I would love to impress you with my French, but that was ninth grade, and it's quite rusty. So I don't think I would be impressing you even un petit peu.
Oh, but well, still, there we go. And maybe when we'll see each other in person, you can try again.
Yeah, let's not embarrass myself in front of all my fans. All right. Well, if you know the show, then you know what that sound means, which is rapid fire questions. And it's just a fun little part of the show that I like to throw at some people, and it's, kicks and giggles. So here's the thing. You and your pals are skiing the Swiss Alps. Now that I know that you're skiing, this is the perfect fit for you.
Right.
Now, something the wife and I actually were just talking about recently, going to the Swiss Alps. She rode the bike right there at the, what's the Tour de France. She was training for it, and so we were talking about that. She goes, "You have to see the Alps." And I'm like, well, let's go. Anyway, so yet I digress. You and your pals are skiing the Swiss Alps when suddenly you're separated from your buddies in a blinding snowstorm. What are the two things you're glad that you packed?
Oh, somebody asked me that question.
What? It's not original? What?
No, I don't remember. I think it was the crew reviews or something like
Oh,
that. I don't remember your competitors. I don't know. So what did, but it was not exactly that question, but it was
okay. Otherwise, I was going to have to cut it out.
similar. The and I probably struggle with that again. I have no idea what I would pack usually for. I've never had the chance to ski in the Alps, unfortunately. Something that I probably might do in March, coming March, but um, I don't know what I would pack. Something like this. I guess if you ski outside the trails, you would need all the equipment that that's kind of not the parachute, but somebody that's going to give you breathing room when the avalanche is over you. I don't know what I would pack. What would you pack?
I would pack plenty of energy bars and an ice pick. That's the first thing that popped in my head, but I hadn't really planned on it. But and a
Yeah.
cappuccino maker because I got to have really great cappuccino while I'm skiing. It's anyway. We'll move on to number 2. This is much less treacherous, and I think it'll be very easy for you. So you and your wife now are vacationing on the opposite end of the spectrum on an exotic tropical island, which I know you really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
You brought 3 things with you to enjoy for your extended stay. Super easy. They are 1 book, 1 CD, just roll with me on the CD in case you don't know what a CD is, and 1 drink. So 1 book, 1 CD, 1 drink. What are they and why?
I would bring the book would be probably the Bourne Identity by Robert Ludlum, just because if I'm only allowed to have one more book in my life, it would probably be this one, because this is the book that introduced me to thriller writing, but also that really made me fall in love with reading.
Yeah.
The drink would probably be a glass of Dom Perignon, because I really love champagne and Dom Perignon is my favorite. So that would be that. And what was the other thing you
A CD, music. So it can be a genre or a single favorite CD. You're old enough to remember CDs, right?
Yeah, of course. I think I would bring the best compilation of Hans Zimmer, because this is the music I listen to when I write. It's very inspirational, and it makes me feel really good. So yeah, Hans Zimmer.
Dude, I am so with you. Bourne Identity is probably a movie that I can watch 100 times and never tire. Hans Zimmer, I listen to on continuous loop, and he's done so many soundtracks. And I'm with you. It just fills you with the impetus to create those action scenes.
Yeah.
And Dom Perignon, I don't think I've ever had any, but I'd certainly be open to that. And number 3, you and I are co-hosting the Thriller Zone together, overlooking the cliffs of the Torrey Pines Golf Course in La Jolla, which is just minutes from my house. It's gorgeous. You'd love it. They have Dom Perignon. It's very nice. Very nice. Now, I've asked you to invite 2 people to join us on the show. It's just the 4 of us. Thriller Zone. It can be anything that's thrilling. Doesn't have to be thriller books. We're just going to sit down and have a great conversation. 4 of us. They can be living or past. So you are going to bring 2 folks. Who would they be and why?
I think I'd like to invite Ian Fleming. I'd like to have his take on, I think it's a very nice chat. So, I'd like to talk to him. I've never had the chance. And I'd like to get Webb Griffin as well, because he was the author I used to read when I was in the military. And he kept me company in the trenches. So I would say these 2 guys are the people I'd like to talk to with you.
Oh my God, we are tracking on the same wavelength. Ian Fleming would be one of mine, because to sit down and talk to the guy who created nearly the single...
Most iconic, I'd say.
Yeah, most iconic ever. I mean, who doesn't love James Bond? To have sat down and created that character. I was just watching a documentary recently on the music of the Bond franchise and how the music has evolved over the years, and it's just fascinating. I can't remember the channel, but just Google documentary on Bond music. It's brilliant. But good answers.
Awesome. I'm glad you agree.
All right. Folks, if you'd like to learn more about my good friend Simon Gervais, and of course, pick up your pre-order copy of the Blackbriar Genesis, go to Simon's very handsome authorbytes.com website, which happens to be simongervaisbooks.com. By the way, Simon, did you know that you and I share the same web designer?
I think I didn't know that, but I know that a lot of people have how's it called, like Bytes story? No, not
Authorbytes.com. Yeah.
Bytes, exactly. No, they're very good. They're very responsive. I couldn't be happier with what they're doing for me.
Yeah, I mean, Granny, Bentley, Cameron. I mean, a couple of cats you might have heard of that went with authorbytes.com. So here's the funny thing is, if I can turn this into a commercial, they happen to be a sponsor of my show. So it just happened that way. How coincidental. And they like authors, which is why they created a company called authorbytes.com. So if you use the code, The Thriller Zone, they're going to give you 3 months free with a 1-year contract.
Fantastic. It's a good deal.
Yeah. So, folks, once again, simongervaisbooks.com. And besides a handsome website, he's a handsome dude and just a handsome character. And I got to tell you something, this was spectacular. I knew when we bumped into each other at Thriller Fest and you gave me a copy of one of your books, I said, you know what, we're going to have fun. And you did not disappoint.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was a blast, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you, hopefully in New York, if not in San Diego.
Yes. All right. Well, folks, you know what to do, where to go. And once again, Simon, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Absolutely. Cool. I think honestly, it was really fun. I really enjoy speaking with you. So thanks for thinking about me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Simon.
Okay. Take care, Dave.
See ya. Nobody likes a guy that says, I told you so. But in this case, I think it works. I told you so, right? I told you it's going to be fun. Simon Gervais, the Blackbriar Genesis, Robert Ludlum. Check out the cover is tight. All kinds of little yummy things in there. And I'm telling you, like I said in the show, it grabs you by the neck out of the gate and does not let go. You got to know by now that I am excited about who's coming up next week. Not only is it our 100th episode, but this guy I hold in such high regard. His brother is a legend, and he's about to become a legend, if he isn't already. His brother, Lee Child, he is Andrew Child. The book written together is No Plan B. Yeah? Sometimes you gotta not have a plan B in life. You just gotta go with your plan A and rock it. So please, join me next week when Andrew Child is my guest. How cool would it be if we got Lee to just call in and say, hey, Dave, what's up? Like he would do that, right? A guy can dream, right? Episode 100, Andrew Child. So until then, I got some reading to do. I'm your host, David Temple. I'll see you next time for another edition of The Thriller Zone.